Subject: Law of Criminal Procedure. Topic: Rehabilitation over punishment. The Juvenile Justice Framework. Now, you might be wondering, what does it actually mean to prioritize a child's future over their past mistakes? How exactly does a legal system balance the undeniable need for public safety with the profound vulnerability of youth? Well, let's dive right into this explainer and break the whole thing down.
Namaste and welcome back. In this explainer, we're going to study a really fascinating topic: rehabilitation over punishment, the Juvenile Justice Framework. Our agenda today is structured to build your understanding step by step. We'll start with a quick introduction and our objectives. Then we'll move into addressing the core concept of the framework. After that, we'll break down the actual execution workflow in practice. And finally, we'll wrap up with a summary and our next steps. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Introduction and Objectives. As you know, this is part of our detailed series on the law of criminal procedure. And to truly understand modern criminal justice, we absolutely have to look at how it treats its most vulnerable participants.
Specifically, we'll be focusing on a few key concepts today: the child in conflict with law, the Juvenile Justice Board, or JJB, the age determination procedure, and finally, rehabilitative orders and welfare institutions. Now, what's really interesting here is the language itself. Notice how we don't say juvenile delinquent anymore. That term, child in conflict with law, is a deliberate, massive psychological shift in the legal framework. It recognizes that the child is at odds with a system rather than inherently broken. We're also going to explore the JJB. Listen, this isn't your standard intimidating courtroom with a towering judge's bench. It's a specialized, highly approachable body. Then there's the age determination procedure. This is arguably the absolute most critical turning point in any case, because the exact age of the accused completely dictates which justice system they enter. And lastly, we'll look at rehabilitative orders and welfare institutions. These represent the ultimate goal of this entire process: reform, not retribution.
So our learning objectives for today are pretty straightforward. We want to explain the Constitution and powers of the Juvenile Justice Board, detail the statutory procedure for determining the age of a juvenile, and outline the protective and rehabilitative orders that can be passed. By the end of this explainer, you're going to uncover exactly how the JJB is uniquely constituted, literally combining top legal minds with child psychology experts. You'll also decode the fascinating statutory procedure for figuring out a juvenile's true age when documents are missing or disputed. And you'll see precisely what kinds of protective orders can be issued to ensure a child is rehabilitated, rather than just thrown into a system that might cause them even more harm.
Section 2, addressing the core concept. Let's address the core concept first, because before we get into the mechanical workflow, we really need to establish the philosophical foundation of this law.
So, what is it and why does it matter to us? Well, in our procedural structure, this concept is defined to protect the balance of justice. For example, under the relevant provisions of the BNSS, the procedural rights and duties are designed to be entirely clear and transparent. Now, for those who might not be familiar with the acronym, BNSS stands for the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita. This is the sweeping new procedural law replacing the outdated Criminal Procedure Code, and it brilliantly illustrates a major shift. The BNSS explicitly outlines that a child's procedural rights are vastly different from an adult's. Think about it. An adult might be subjected to standard police custody, handcuffs, the whole traditional bail hearing setup. But a child in conflict with the law? They are specifically shielded from those harsh realities. The balance of justice here means protecting the community, absolutely, while simultaneously ensuring the child's right to dignity, privacy, and a real chance at a normal future. It's a delicate tightrope walk for sure, and the BNSS provides the safety net.
Section 3, the execution workflow. Let's walk through this process together. How does this actually play out in the real world when a child is accused of a crime?
Step 1 involves initiating the mechanism. Step 2 requires validation and verification. And finally, Step 3 brings closure. But let's really unpack what these terms mean in practice, because this is where the theory meets reality. Initiating the mechanism does not mean a traditional arrest. When a child is involved, the law requires apprehension by a specialized unit, like a child welfare police officer. And they must be in plain clothes. No intimidating uniforms that could terrify a child. Then comes Step 2, validation and verification. The JJB absolutely must verify if the person is a minor. To do this, they use a strict statutory matrix. They first rely on a matriculation or equivalent certificate, then a birth certificate from a civic body. If neither of those exists, they order a medical age determination test, like an ossification test of the bones. It's a highly scientific and legal validation process. Finally, bringing closure isn't about a prison sentence, it's a rehabilitative order. The JJB might order the child to attend group counseling, perform community service, or in more serious cases, reside in a special safety home where they receive education and vocational training. That is the true execution workflow.
Now, we must also be aware of common misconceptions that students often make here. A lot of folks confuse the old CRPC provisions with the updated BNSS mandates. Make sure you reference the new section numbers in your exams. And for those of you tuning in who aren't law students, this distinction is still incredibly important for you to understand. The transition from the old Criminal Procedure Code, the CRPC, to the BNSS isn't just a matter of changing numbers on a piece of paper. It's a real game changer. It represents a fundamental evolution in how our society views juvenile justice. The updated mandates under the BNSS codify stricter timelines for the JJB to resolve cases, ensuring children aren't just left languishing in uncertainty. It completely streamlines the welfare approach. So, relying on the old framework doesn't just mean failing an exam, it means fundamentally misunderstanding the current, way more progressive reality of the law.
Section 4. Summary and Next Steps. In summary, we have reviewed the core elements of rehabilitation over punishment, the juvenile justice framework. Let's quickly recap what we've discovered today.
We mapped out the legal requirements, the practical application, and the key safeguards. We saw the shift to the BNSS ensures procedural rights are transparent and hyper-focused on the child's dignity. We explored the practical, three-step execution workflow, from that sensitive apprehension by plainclothes officers to the rigorous statutory age determination matrix, all the way to issuing those rehabilitative orders. And we reviewed the key procedural safeguards, most notably the unique, psychology-informed constitution of the Juvenile Justice Board itself. You now have a really solid understanding of how the system physically and philosophically protects the youth.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. As our society continues to evolve, and as the challenges facing our youth become way more complex in this digital age, ask yourself, is our justice system doing enough to truly rehabilitate, or are we just scratching the surface? It's a question every single informed citizen should ponder. In our next explainer, we will continue this journey by exploring the next phase of criminal procedure. Thank you for studying with me. Namaste.